Folks, I wish I was telling you a tall tale. I really do. But yesterday I sat at my desk in Delaware, turned on the news, and I just shook my head. You see, the presidency isn't just a job. It's a responsibility. It's about steady hands on the wheel. But what we heard coming out of Air Force One yesterday, it wasn't steady. It was chaos cruising at 30,000 feet. Here's the deal. Donald Trump invited reporters to the back of the plane, the same cabin where I used to sit and make the hard calls, and he just let loose. No script, no strategy, just raw impulse. He started talking about our neighbors in the hemisphere, about Venezuela, about Colombia, even bringing up buying Greenland again like it's a piece of real estate on a monopoly board. He told the world, we're in charge, just like that, casual words with heady consequences. When you're the president of the United States, your words matter. They move markets. They send our troops into harm's way. They can either build peace or start wars. But to treat delicate international situations like you're negotiating a condo deal, it's reckless. It scares our allies. And frankly, it should worry every single American who wants a stable future for their kids. Now, look, I know many of you are tired of the noise. You just want to live your lives. But we can't look away when the noise starts threatening the safety of our nation. That's why we're here having this conversation. If you believe we need to get back to serious leadership, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and become a member of this channel. Join us in this fight for the soul of the nation. We need rational voices now more than ever. You know, my dad used to say, Joey, don't tell me what you value, show me your budget and I'll tell you what you value. Well, in foreign policy, don't tell me you're strong, show me you're smart, show me you're steady. What happened on that plane fits a pattern we've seen for too long. Is this idea that being loud is the same as being strong. It's not strength, it's knowing when to speak and when to listen. Strength is rallying the world to your side, not mocking our friends in Denmark or threatening our neighbors in South America off the cuff because you're in a bad mood. Imagine being a young soldier deployed right now, or a diplomat trying to keep the peace. Then you hear your commander-in-chief making jokes about taking charge of sovereign nations while flying home from a weekend trip. It undercuts the hard work of thousands of patriotic Americans. It turns the dignity of the office into a reality TV confessional. I spent a lot of time on Air Force One. It's a place for serious reflection. You look out that window at the clouds, knowing that down below, millions of people are counting on you to make the right decision, not the loud decision, the right one. What we saw yesterday was a president treating the most powerful flying office in the world like a campaign bus. And the reaction, it wasn't not respect, it was confusion, it was fear. We are a nation that leads by the power of our example, not just the example of our power. And right now, the example we're setting is one of unpredictability. Americans deserve a leader who understands that when the president speaks, the world holds its breath, not to see what crazy thing he says next, but to hear the march of liberty. We can do better than this. We have to do better. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine recently, a guy who runs a small hardware store not far from where I grew up. He told me something that stuck with me. He said, Joe, I don't mind a tough boss. I mind a boss who changes the rules every 20 minutes. That's exactly what it feels like right now with this administration. When the president stands on Air Force One and just riffs, just says whatever pops into his head about global trade or military action. It doesn't just make for a catchy headline. It creates a ripple effect that hits your kitchen table. Think about it. When the leader of the free world is unpredictable, businesses get scared. They stop hiring. They hold on to their cash because they don't know if a tweet or a soundbite is going to turn the economy upside down tomorrow morning. And who pays the price for that? Is not the folks in the big boardrooms. It's the family trying to refinance their mortgage. It's the factory worker wondering if his shift is going to get cut next week. What we saw yesterday wasn't a strategy session. It was an event session. And while it might feel good to some folks to hear a president talk tough and tell it like it is, there's a massive difference between talking tough and being tough. Being tough means doing the hard, boring work of reading the briefings, understanding the nuance, and making decisions that keep us safe, not just making comments that get likes on social media. We're living in a time where everything feels fragile. the cost of eggs, the price of gas, the worry about the next conflict. We don't need a president who throws matches at the kindling just to see if it burns. We need a firefighter. We need someone who understands that calm is a superpower. When I see the reaction to these remarks, the confusion, the anger, even the fear from some of our closest partners, it breaks my heart because I know that America is better than a soundbite. We are a nation of steady resolve, not impulsive outbursts, and we deserve leadership that respects that. Let me tell you something about the folks in that press cabin. I've known many of them for decades. They aren't the enemy. They're the eyes and ears of the American people. And when they ask a question, they're doing it so you, the voter, can know what your government is up to. But yesterday, instead of answers, they got a performance. They got bluster. And here's the dangerous part. There are people out there, good people, patriotic people, who hear these remarks and think, finally, someone is fighting for us. They see the shouting and the interruptions as strength. They see the chaos as shaking up the system. I get that frustration. I really do. The system hasn't worked for a lot of folks for a long time. But don't mistake loud noises for progress. A car engine making a lot of noise isn't necessarily fast. Sometimes it's just broken. When the president speaks loosely about our allies or makes sudden declarations about foreign policy while flying over the Atlantic, our adversaries are watching. They are taking notes. They look for the cracks in our armor. They love it when we look divided. They love it when the American president sounds like he's going it alone. Because when America goes it alone, the world becomes a much more dangerous place for freedom. I remember sitting across the table from leaders of NATO, looking them in the eye. Trust isn't built on being the loudest guy in the room. It's built on your word being your bond. If they can't predict what you'll say from one flight to the next, they can't trust you. And if they can't trust us, we are less safe. It's that simple. We are trading our credibility for a moment of televised. Tough talk. And frankly, that is a trade-off America cannot afford to make. We need to get back to a place where our word means something, where our silence speaks as loudly as our shouts, and where the president works for you, not for the cameras. Folks, I want to talk to you about something that keeps you up at night. It's not the political drama in Washington. It's the math you do at the kitchen table at the end of the month. Can we pay the heating bill? Can we afford that new set of tires? I know that math. I grew up with it. And here's the thing that really gets under my skin about what happened on Air Force One. When the president treats foreign policy like a game show, the economy gets the jitters. I'm not talking about the stock market. Wall Street has guys in fancy suits who can hedge their bets. I'm talking about Main Street. I'm talking about the farmers in Iowa who don't know if they can sell their soybeans next year because the president decided to pick a fight with a trading partner during a 10-minute run at 30,000 feet. I'm talking about the auto workers in Michigan wondering if the supply chain is going to snap again because of some loose talk about tariffs or borders. See, stability isn't just a fancy word for diplomats. Stability is money in your pocket. When the world is calm, gas prices stay steady. When our allies trust us, American businesses sell more goods abroad. But when you have a leader who thrives on chaos, who thinks creating a storm makes him look like a weatherman, it's working families who get soaked. You deserve a president who understands that his words have a price tag attached to them. Every time he escalates a conflict off the cuff, the price of oil might tick up. Every time he scares an ally, a contract might get canceled. It's reckless. We spent years building an economy that works for the middle class, not just the top 1%. And we can't let that progress be undone because someone can stick to the script. We need a steady hand to keep prices down and jobs up. It's not flashy, I know. It doesn't make for breaking news, but it pays the bills, and that's what matters. I want to tell you a quick story. A few years back, I was visiting a manufacturing plant outside of Pittsburgh. I met a foreman there, a guy named Mike. He had grease on his hands and he looked tired. He'd been working double shifts to put his daughter through school. I didn't give him a speech. I didn't shout about how great I was. I just asked him, Mike, what do you need? And I listened. That's the job. The job isn't standing in the aisle of an airplane barking orders at reporters. The job is listening. Real strength. The kind of strength America was built on is quiet. It's the strength of the single mom working 2 jobs. It's the strength of the nurse staying past her shift. It's the strength of a leader who is confident enough to be humble. What we saw on Air Force One was the opposite of that. It was insecurity masquerading as dominance. It was a man who needs to fill every silence with his own voice because he's terrified of what he might hear if he stops. Talking, when you're always broadcasting, you're never receiving. You're not hearing the pain of the people you're supposed to serve. I'll tell you this, I've sat in the situation room, I've had to make the calls where lives are on the line. And in those moments, you don't rant, you pray, you listen to your generals, you think about the history books. You think about the kids who are going to have to live with your decision. You don't perform for the cameras, you perform for the future. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to a place where the presidency isn't about the person behind the desk, but about the people in front of it. You, your family, your future. We need to turn down the volume and turn up the competence. Because at the end of the day, a loud voice doesn't fix a pothole, it doesn't cure a disease, and it certainly doesn't heal a divided nation. Only hard work and a little bit of grace can do that. I want you to take a second to think about your kids or your grandkids. I look at mine and I think about the world we're handing over to them. You know, we spend so much time teaching them the basics. We teach them to say please and thank you. We teach them to share their toys. We teach them that if you have a disagreement, you use your words, not your fists. And you certainly don't call people names. We try to raise them to be decent, honorable people. But then they turn on the TV or they scroll through their phones and they see the President of the United States on air, Force One. And what do they see? They don't see decency. They see bullying. They see a grown man, the most powerful man on earth, mocking people, belittling reporters, and treating serious issues like a joke. They see that being loud and rude gets you attention. They see that being a winner means making someone else feel small. What kind of lesson is that? It keeps me up at night. It really does. Because the presidency is more than just passing laws. It's about setting a tone. It's about being a role model. When I was a kid in Scranton, we looked up to the president, no matter who he was, because the office stood for something bigger than the man. It stood for dignity. When the president lashes out at the press or our allies just because he's frustrated, he's telling every kid watching that self-control is for suckers. He's telling them that if you have power, you don't have to be kind. And that is a tragedy. We are eroding the moral fabric of this country, one angry soundbite at a time. We are better than this. I know we are. And I know you want your kids to grow up in a country where kindness is seen as a strength, not a weakness. We have to demand leaders who act like adults so our children can learn how to become them. Let's be honest with each other. Are you tired? I don't mean sleepy. I mean, are you tired of the noise? Are you tired of waking up every morning and checking your phone with a knot in your stomach, wondering, what did he say now? Who are we fighting with today? Because I'll tell you, I'm tired of it. And I think most of America is too. There's a fatigue that comes with chaos. When the government is running on adrenaline and anger, it wears you down. This incident on Air Force One is just the latest log on the fire. It's designed to keep you agitated. It's designed to make you pick a side. You're either with him or against him. It turns neighbors into enemies. It makes Thanksgiving dinner uncomfortable. It makes you want to tune out the world. But here's the truth. America wasn't built on constant conflict. It was built on compromise. It was built on the idea that we are all in this together. E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. That's not just a slogan on a coin, it's the secret sauce. It's what makes us the envy of the world. When we are united, there is nothing we can do. But when we are divided, when we are distracted by the spectacle of a president shouting from an airplane, we lose our way. We are spending so much energy reacting to his moods that we aren't solving our problems. We aren't talking about how to fix the healthcare system. We aren't talking about how to make college affordable. We're talking about his tweets. We're talking about his insults. It's a distraction, and it's a waste of the precious time we have to build a better future. I believe in an America where the news is boring again. I really do. I want an America where you don't have to think about the president every single day because you know he's doing his job. You know he's reading the briefings, respecting the office and looking out for you. That's not a fantasy. That's how it's supposed to be. And that's what we need to get back to, you know, despite everything, despite the noise, the tweets, the rants from 30,000 feet, I am still an optimist. I really am. And people ask me, Joe, how can you be optimistic when you see the president acting like this? And I tell them it's because I know the American people. I know you. I look at what happened on Air Force One, and yes, it was a mess. It was undignified. But then I look at what's happening on the ground. I see neighbors helping neighbors after a storm. I see teachers reaching into their own pockets to buy school supplies for a kid who has nothing. I see small business owners keeping their staff on the payroll even when things are tight, just because it's the right thing to do. That is the real America. That is the soul of this nation. The current president might think that power comes from shouting down reporters in the back of a plane. He might think strength comes from making people afraid, but he's wrong. He is fundamentally wrong. Power comes from the people. Strength comes from our shared values. He can fly as high as he wants, but he will never understand the view from the ground where real life happens. We are a country of possibilities. We are the nation that cured polio, that went to the moon, that brought down walls. We didn't do those things by bickering or by being impulsive. We did them by working together, by being steady, by keeping our eyes on the horizon. This administration, they are focused on the 24-hour news cycle. They want to win the headline. I want us to win the future. And I know we can. We just have to remember who we are. We are the United States of America. And there is nothing beyond our capacity if we decide to do it together. So where do we go from here? We have a choice. We can throw up our hands, turn off the TV, and say, well, that's just politics. We can let the cynicism win. We can let the chaos on Air Force One become the new normal. Or we can stand up and say, enough. We can demand leaders who treat the office with respect. We can demand a president who speaks to us, not at us. We can demand a government that values stability over spectacle. This is not going to be easy. Change never is. But the power isn't in that airplane. The power is in your hands. It's in your voice. It's in your vote. We are in a battle for the soul of this nation. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's time to restore honor and decency to the White House. It's time to remember that the president works for you. If you believe that America deserves better than what we saw yesterday, I need you to do something for me right now. I need you to hit that like button so more people can hear this message. Leave a comment below. Tell me what real leadership looks like to you. And please, subscribe to the channel and become a member. Join us. We need your voice in this fight. Don't lose hope, folks. Don't let the noise drown out your faith in this country. We are good people. We are a great nation. And together, we are going to take it back. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.